Good day, greetings students. I'm very happy to meet you all again for class 11 business studies. So we have in chapter 2, which is forms of business organization. So we have discussed what do we mean by business organization and what are the various forms of ownership. In the previous chapter, in chapter 1, we have discussed that what are the factors that we have to consider in starting a business. In that we have discussed various factors. Among them, one important thing is that you have to choose the right form of ownership. What kind of business organization are you going to run? What is the form of ownership that you wish to have in your business organization? That is why the second chapter that has been given in your book is forms of business organization. So what are the various forms of business organization? We have sole proprietorship, we have joint into family business, partnership, cooperative societies and joint stock companies. These are the 5 broad categories of forms of business organization. In the previous video session, we have discussed about sole proprietorship. We have discussed about the first form of business organization, and it is also called the simplest form of business organization. Why? Because it is sole proprietorship. And what is the meaning of sole proprietorship? Single ownership. Sole means single, proprietor means owner, single owner. Only one person handles the entire business and all the functions related with business. We know that there are various functions in business. So the only person who takes care of all the functions of the business organization and who is responsible for taking the important decision of the business, it's going to be the sole proprietor. The only owner of the organization is going to be the sole proprietorship. And we have already discussed that it is suitable for a beginner who is entering into the field of business first time. He or she can get into sole proprietorship, and it is good for small scale business, not large scale. It's going to be beneficial only for small scale business. And what are the other points we have discussed about sole proprietorship? We have discussed the features, we have discussed the merits and limitations of business. Because if you want to choose the right form of business organization, you must know what is the meaning of it, what are the features of it, what are the merits and limitations. Only then we will be able to compare between the various forms of business organization and choose the appropriate form of business organization for us. That is why we discussed about the features. That is, we discussed about the formation, the closure, what are the laws, are there any laws? For sole proprietorship, the laws are very minimal. So there are not many restrictions for a formation and closure of sole proprietorship. We discussed that the liability is unlimited. Right, because if the business has to face a loss or when the business closes, if there is a liability, if the owner has to pay someone something, even his or her personal assets will be taken into account to repay the loans, and the credit worthiness is really less because people may not, the banks and financial institutions may not be ready to give loans, to provide loans to a single person. Instead of having big limited companies where the assets are more, they will be ready to give loans to that sort of companies. But in case of sole proprietorship, the resources are very limited. Same way, the credit worthiness is also limited. He or she will not be able to avail loan. Okay, so we have discussed. But what are the advantages of it? The decision making is quick because the only person, so he or she can have the decision. And unlimited liability serves as a merit also because he or she can use his or her own personal property also for the business. The formation and closure are going to be very, very easy, and you are going to have a direct sense of accomplishment. The sole proprietor is going to have a good sense of accomplishment. That is, அவங்களுக்கு நல்லது பண்ணிருப்போம் இல்ல என்ன பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம் நம்ம வந்து பண்ணதோட ரிசல்ட் வந்து நமக்கு உடனே தெரியும். That is why the sense of accomplishment is higher in sole proprietorship. So those are the various things we have discussed about sole proprietorship. Now what are we going to do? We are going to discuss about the second part, second form of business organization. So what are we doing? We are in chapter 2, which is forms of business organization, right? And how many forms are there? We have 5 forms of of business organization, sole proprietorship, joint Hindu family business, partnership, cooperative societies and joint stock companies. Now we are going to discuss about the second form of business organization, which is called the joint Hindu family business. I want you to keep it in mind that whenever you write joint Hindu family, the J, H and F should be in caps because you can use it as a acronym also, that is J, H, F business. That is why you have to use joint Hindu family. Whenever you are using it in any of your sentences, J, H and F should be in caps. Please keep it in your mind. Next we are going to discuss about what is this joint Hindu family business all about. It is a form of business organization where the members of a joint Hindu family take part as the business members also. They run the business together. What does it actually mean? So in India, we have a system called Hindu undivided family, that is joint families. Of course, nowadays it is becoming nuclear family, but of course we have few joint families also, and it is mainly concerned with the religion of Hindu, because in Hindu religion only maximum they have this kind of family organization. So joint Hindu family business organization means what? Here the members of the family will run a business together. That is what it is. The other name of it is Hindu undivided family. Undivided means what? Joint. So Hindu undivided family is called as HUF. Hindu undivided family. This family runs the business. How do they run the business here? Here we have the eldest member of the family who is called the Karta. Okay? The eldest member of the family, especially when it was formed, when it was brought into existence, this kind of business, it was made sure that eldest male member of the family is called Karta. But now, because of another act, it has been changed that the eldest member, whether it is male or a female, is called the Karta. He or she runs the business, he or she takes the main managerial decisions of the particular business organization. The other members of the family, okay, the other members of the family are called as co-partners. Not partners, children. It is co-partners in plural. Karta is going to be singular because only one eldest member is going to be here. The other members of the family business are going to be called as co-partners of the business. And what else? It is governed by Hindu Succession Act 1956. So in which year did this act come into existence? Hindu Succession Act 1956. This is the act that governs the Hindu undivided family business or the joint Hindu family business. The business is formed and run through various processes, and which act governs it is a very important point. It is the Hindu Succession Act 1956. This act states the important laws that has to be known by a person to run joint Hindu family business. Okay, this act tells you what is meant by Karta, who are the co-partners, who are eligible to take part in the business, and everything comes under this act. According to this act only, the male members, right, the male members of the family are allowed to take part in the business. According to what? According to the earlier act, Hindu Succession Act 1956, it was mentioned that the eldest male member will be called as the Karta and the other male members will be called as co only the male members were part of it. But life is changing and changes alone are permanent. So what happened? In 2005, there was another Amendment Act which allowed even the female participants, female members of the family to be co-partners or even the karta. Before discussing about the Hindu Succession Amendment Act, there are two important acts that fall under the Hindu Succession Act that I want you to go through. One is the Dayabaga Act or the Dayabaga Law, and one more is Mitakshara Act. Okay, this provides, Dayabaga Act provides in West Bengal and Assam, and the Mitakshara Act provides in the other parts of India or other states of India. And one more important thing about joint Hindu family businesses, it is providing only in India. Okay, you can find this sort of business only in India, because only in India we have this joint Hindu family, Hindu undivided family tradition comes only in India. So this sort of business is found only in India. The act applies only inside India, and everything that comes along with this sort of organization applies only inside India. So this Dayabaga Act prevails in West Bengal and Assam, and the Mitakshara Act prevails only in other parts of India. That is, apart from West Bengal and Assam, the other parts of India, the states of India, follows the Mitakshara Act. What is the difference between the Dayabaga Act and Mitakshara Act? Most of the things are similar, children. The formation, closure, everything are similar. But what is different? What is the difference means? Dayabaga Act allows the membership or the authority over the property for one male member after the death of his father. That is, இப்போ ஒரு அப்பா இருக்காங்கன்னா அப்பாவுக்கு தான் அந்த பிஸ்னஸில் ரைட்ஸ் இருக்கும், மெம்பராக இருப்பாங்க. அந்த அப்பா இறந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் அவங்களோட சன்னுக்கு அதோட ஓனர்ஷிப் ரைட் வரும். That is, only after the death of the father, the son will be able to become a co-partner. Right? Only when the father dies, the son will get the opportunity to become a co-partner, have a rule over the business, participate in the business. But what does Mitakshara Act provide? Mitakshara Act does not happen like that. It allows a male member to become the member of the business on his birth. When a child is born, he automatically becomes a partner. He automatically becomes a co-partner of the joint Hindu family business also. So what is the difference between Dayabaga Act and Mitakshara Act? Dayabaga Act allows you to take the ownership only after the death of the father, whereas Mitakshara Act does not allow you that. It gives you direct partnership, direct ownership right when you are born in the family. Okay, all this happened in Hindu Succession Act. So according to this, we have two more separate deviations. One is Dayabaga Act and Mitakshara Act. Dayabaga Act works only in West Bengal and Assam, whereas Mitakshara Act works in the other states of India. Now, a quick recall about Hindu undivided family business or joint Hindu family business. It operates only in India. This is the most important point. The only country in which you will find this form of business organization is India. Because in India only, we have the joint family tradition. நம்ம countryல மட்டும் தான் இந்த கூட்டு குடும்பம் அப்படின்னு நம்ம சொல்ற இந்த joint Hindu family நம்ம பார்க்க முடியும். In other countries it does not provide. And next, the eldest member of the family is called as Karta. Earlier, based on Hindu Succession Act 1956, the eldest male member of the family was called Karta, but the amendment made it Hindus. The amendment made that eldest male member or female member becomes the Karta. The other members are called as co-partners, and the Hindu Succession Act governs the entire kind of business. Now we will discuss about the Amendment Act. What is the amendment? Amendment means changes. Bringing some changes in a particular act is called as amendment. What does the Amendment Act states and when was it brought into existence? Hindu Act, that is the Amendment Act, came into existence in 2005. Okay, the Amendment Act was passed in 2005, and according to it, even the female members were given authority. Okay, they were given ownership also. Female members were also given authority. So after this act came, the eldest member, either male or female, becomes Karta. So the eldest male or female member will become Karta. Karta means what? The head of the family, the eldest member of the family. Here it was only male member, whereas the Succession Act, the Amendment Act passed in 2005, let eldest female members also to be Karta. Same way, the female members born in the family were also allowed to have a part in the business. Female members also were called as co-partners. Right, so this is about joint Hindu family business, and it is prevailing there only in India, and it is governed entirely by the Hindu Succession Act 1956. There are few changes in Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. The main changes are even the female members are given right of ownership and participating in the business. After the Hindu Succession Act 2005 was passed, the eldest member, either male or female, becomes the Karta. It's not only kept only for male, even the female members are also allowed to become Kartas and as well as co-partners. The membership, how do you get the membership inside the organization? When you talk about sole proprietorship, the only member, the only owner was the sole proprietor. But when it comes to partner, if you want to become a partner of a partnership organization, the rules differ. If you want to become a member of a joint stock company, the rule differs. But how do you become a partner, or how do you become a member of this joint Hindu family business? It comes through birth. If you are born in that particular family, automatically you become the owner of it, or a part of ownership is given to you. You are eligible for ownership of that particular organization. Till the Karta, till you become Karta, you can work as a co-partner. Okay, this is what is about joint Hindu family business. Next, what are we going to discuss about? We are going to discuss about the features of joint Hindu family business. So these two important acts are very, very important, and I want you to look deeply into Dayabhaga Act and Mutakshara Act, how it provides, what are the differences and all those things. Even though it is not given in your textbook, that plays a very important role in joint Hindu family business too. So what are the acts? Hindu Succession Act 1956 and Hindu Succession Amendment Act. Amendment means changes. Amendment Act 2005. Discussing about the features of joint Hindu family business. What are the features of joint Hindu family business? We are going to write it as joint Hindu family business, and whenever you write joint Hindu family, J, H and F should be in capital. So what are the features? First point is the formation of the business. We need to form the business. So what are the rules and regulations? We know that it is governed by the Hindu Succession Act 1956. So what are the important points? Two important conditions necessary for forming this sort of businesses. At least 2 members should be there. It should be adult members. At least 2 members should be there in the business. There in the family. 2 members in the family can start the joint Hindu family business. At least two. The maximum can be anything, but the minimum is 2 adult members should be there to form the business organization, and then they should have an ancestral property to share. Ancestral property to share between themselves. That is, if 2 members are there, both of them should have the right to use the ancestral property. Ancestral property na family. அந்த குடும்பத்தோட வழி வழியாக வர சொத்து தான். இது வந்து எங்கள் குடும்பத்தோட பொக்கிஷம், இது எங்களோட குடும்பத்தோட வீடு, அந்த மாதிரி சொல்கிறோம் இல்லைங்களா. ancestral property means some property that comes from your elders, from the previous members of your family, that runs, that is passed on to different members. ஒருத்தர்கிட்ட இருந்து இன்னொருத்தருக்கு பாஸ் பண்ணிட்டே நம்ம வர ப்ராப்பர்ட்டிஸ் தான் நம்ம ancestral propertyன்னு சொல்கிறோம். So for forming a joint Hindu family business, you need to have at least 2 members. Earlier it was 2 male members, but due to Hindu Succession Amendment Act, it was made as 2 members. Even if it is female members, it's not going to be a problem. There is no gender differences according to the Hindu Succession Act 2005. So the ancestral property should be there. Both of them should be able to use the ancestral property to share. Why do we need 2 persons? There should be one karta. If there are not 2 persons, what does it become? It becomes sole proprietorship. Right? If only one person is ruling the business and owning the business, it becomes sole proprietorship. That's why you need at least 2 members of the same family, not 2 different people. 2 members of the same family to start the joint Hindu family business. Right? And then you need the ancestral property to share the business. These are the 2 important points, 2 important conditions that falls for the formation of a joint Hindu family business. Then we have liability. What is meant by liability? The responsibilities we have toward the organization is called as liability. It can be monetary or non-monetary. That is, it can be related to money or not related to money. So the liability here, the karta, that is the eldest member of the family, his liability is unlimited. Okay? The karta's liability is unlimited, whereas the co-partners, who are the co-partners? The other members of the family business are called as co-partners. Either male or female are called as co-partners. Their liability is limited. So when we talk about the liability of the karta and the co-partners, the liability of karta, that is the eldest member of the family who serves like the main person of the business too, becomes unlimited. He or she has unlimited liability. Whereas when we talk about the co-partners, the liability is limited. They have limited liability. That is to the level of their share of the ancestral property. We may discuss பண்ண மாதிரி எல்லாருக்கும் அந்த ancestral propertyல share இருக்கும். So எனக்கு எவ்வளோ percentage of share இருக்கும், அவ்வளோ percentage of liability தான் எனக்கு இருக்கும். So the liability of the co-partners are limited, whereas for karta it is unlimited. So we have discussed about formation and liability. Next we are going to discuss about control. Who has the control? There in sole proprietorship, what did we discuss? We discussed that the control lies only with the sole proprietor. இல்லைங்களா, அந்த ஒரே ஒரு ஓனருக்கு தான் எல்லா அத்தாரிட்டிஸும் இருக்கு. Here who has the control? The control here lies with the karta. As the senior member of the family or the eldest member of the family, the karta has a control over the business. He or she is liable to take all the important decisions of the business and the full control, the business organization, the full control யார்கிட்ட இருக்கு? karta கிட்ட தான் இருக்கு. The karta has the entire control of the business organization. The next point is continuity of business. What you have to relate each and every point with the previous form of business organization. We discussed. ஏற்கனவே sole proprietorship discuss பண்ணியிருக்கோம். You have to relate because we are going to finally compare between all the forms of organization, all the forms of ownership. Then only we will be able to come to a clear idea. So when you are discussing about the formation of joint Hindu family, immediately the formation of sole proprietorship also should strike in your mind. Same way comes the liability, control. Next, what are we discussing? We are discussing about the continuity of business. When we discuss the continuity of sole proprietorship, it's very limited. It is very limited. Why? Because the business ends with the owner. Sole proprietor is the only person who manages the business. So if he or she dies or something happens to that particular person, the business comes to an end. But what happens in joint Hindu family? When the eldest member, when the karta passes away, that is when the karta dies, the next eldest member will become the karta. Okay? So the next eldest member will become the karta. One more important point about joint Hindu family is that 3 generations can be taking part in the business. Adavadu tata, appa, mahan. The grandpa, father and the son. 3 generations can be in the joint Hindu family business at one particular time. Right. So if the grandpa dies, the next eldest member, whoever it is, the grandpa's brother, or if the next eldest member becomes the wife of the deceased of the grandpa, then the grandma becomes a karta. The next eldest member becomes a karta. So the continuity of business is there. The business runs even after the death of karta, because after the death of karta, the next karta takes place. The next eldest member takes care of the business. Okay, the next eldest member becomes karta of the business. So the business does not have to end with the death of the karta. Instead, the next eldest member becomes a karta and takes over the business. Right? And then we have minor members. We have already discussed that 3 generations can be part of this business at one point of time. Right? 3 generations can be part of business. That is the grandpa or grandma. Okay? Grandpa or grandma. Then father or mother, because the daughter of the family is also allowed. The grandpa's daughter will also be allowed to be part of the business. Father or mother. Then comes son or daughter. Their son or daughter. Which act as even if we permission to have even female members of the family. Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005 has made even the female members of the family eligible. So the minor members, what do we mean by minor members? We already discussed the membership into this particular form of business comes through the birth. Right? Through birth. The ownership or the membership is through birth. So when a new son or daughter, when a child is born in the family, he or she automatically gains the membership into the particular family business. The only condition is 3 generations should be there in the business. So the minor members, even when a child is born, if he or she is the 3rd generation, he or she immediately claims the membership. He or she immediately or automatically becomes the member, co-partner of this family business. So even we can find minor members in this sort of business organization. So what have we discussed so far? We have discussed about the joint Hindu family business, the features. What is this? Formation. It is governed by the Hindu Succession Act 1956 and changes have been taken up from the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. So at least 2 members should be there of the family, and there should be some ancestral property that has to be shared within the family, and liability for karta, that is the eldest member of the family, it is unlimited, whereas for the co-partners going to be limited. Then comes control. The karta is the only person to control the business. He or she has a huge part in controlling the business, managerial decisions, everything. And continuity of business. If the karta dies, the next eldest member becomes a karta, and hence the business keeps on going. It does not stop with the death or some other problem of the karta. Minor members are also seen in this sort of business because the ownership or the membership into this particular business comes through birth. If a boy or girl is born in that particular family, he or she immediately attains the membership of this particular family business. These are the features of joint Hindu family business. Now we have discussed the features. The next step is to discuss the merits and demerits of joint Hindu family business, so that we can come to a clear-cut idea of whether it is going to help, what sort of business should we keep up, all those things we'll come to know with the help of the merits and limitations of joint Hindu family business. Alright? So first we are going to discuss the merits of joint Hindu family business. The first merit is effective control. So where does the control of the business lie? The control of the business lies only with karta. He is the eldest member of the family. He or she is the eldest member of the family, and hence he or she has a strict control over the entire business organization. What happens when the eldest member of the family says something? Even at home, when the eldest member says something, we all will obey them. Same way, in the business organization also, when the karta makes a decision, the entire members, the co-partners also fall under that particular decision. So the effective control prevails in joint Hindu family business. Since it is a family business, whatever the eldest member, the karta says, the other co-partners listen to him, so the control remains good there. Continuity of business existence. Continuity of business existence. This just now we have discussed through the features, that is, even if the karta dies, what happens? The next member, the next eldest member of the family takes up the business. So the continuity of business existence is good. It keeps on going. It does not stop like sole proprietorship. When the sole proprietor dies, the business ends. But whereas in joint Hindu family business, it keeps on continuing because the next eldest member also becomes karta and he or she runs the business. So the business continues. Next, limited liability of members or co-partners. Limited liability of members. So what did we discuss in the liability, under the topic liability? We discussed that the karta, the eldest member of the family, only has the unlimited liabilities. When it comes to the co-partners, the members of the family, they have limited liability. How much ever percent of membership they have in the ancestral property, that much of risk only they have, that much liability only happens. So it is not going to affect them personally. Okay, if there is something wrong in the business or some loss, it is not going to affect the co-partners, that is the members of the business. Right? So the liability is limited. The last point is loyalty and cooperation. What is the next point we are discussing? The loyalty and cooperation. It's a family. So when it is family, the cooperation is really good, really higher compared to other forms of business organization. Here the loyalty is going to be very much good because the karta is going to be also the member of the family. Everybody are going to be the members of the same family. So what does it lead to? They all feel a togetherness. We'll feel that togetherness. So the cooperation is good and the loyalty is also appreciable. They won't be lying, or they don't have to do that. They don't have to sell their business secrets to other companies. So the loyalty and cooperation stays really, really good. Right? So what are the merits of this sort of business organization, that is a joint Hindu family business? The control is very, very effective. Then the continuity of business existence keeps on going, because even if the karta dies, the next eldest member of the family, male or female, becomes a karta, and the business continues. It keeps on going. And then the liability of the co-partners, that is the members of the family, is limited. Only the karta of the business organization has unlimited liability. Finally, the loyalty and cooperation is very, very good. Since it's a family business and the co-partners are also members of the family, the loyalty and cooperation stays to be very, very good compared to other forms of business organization. These are the merits. Just like how everything has two sides, same way this sort of business organization also has few demerits. We are going to discuss the limitations of joint Hindu family business. What are the limitations? Limited resources, because we are going to use only the ancestral property. We discussed already that we are going to invest only what is available with the ancestors, with the family property. So it will definitely be limited. We are going to have only the ancestral property, and hence it's going to be very, very limited. So the resources, just like sole proprietorship, here also the resources are very, very limited, because we are going to use only the ancestral property. There is no possibility of investing our own personal amount there. If I am a co-partner, out of all the members of the family, I am a co-partner and I have good wealth. Can I take my money and invest there? No, I can't do that, because according to the Act, according to the Hindu Succession Act, it states that only the ancestral property should be used for running the business. So I or any member of the business organization cannot invest his or her own money into the business. Hence the resources are very, very limited. When financial resources are limited, of course the physical and other resources also will be limited. The human resources also will be limited, because only the members of the family are going to run the business. So it's going to be limited. The next point is limited liability of members is supposed to be a merit, whereas the unlimited liability of the karta happens to be a threat. The unlimited liability of karta happens to be a threat, that it is a limitation, because the karta has to face all the loss. We don't have any other members to have hands with us. Right? If I am the karta, or if you are the karta of a business, if your co-partners are there, they have limited liability. They have liability only to the extent of their own membership. But whereas as a karta, you have unlimited liability. When the business faces a loss, you have to invest your own personal money also into that. So the liability of karta becomes unlimited. And then it comes limited managerial skills. So just like the sole proprietor, here also the main decisions are taken by karta. So we cannot say that the karta alone will be able to have all the managerial skills. He or she will not be able to have all the sort of managerial skills. So again, the managerial skills also becomes limited. He or she does not involve into a discussion with the other co-partners to take a final decision. So the decision making also becomes tough. And finally, dominance of karta. Because we say that the eldest member is going to have control over the organization. So whatever is the mindset of the karta happens to be the business. Whatever the karta says, that has to be followed by all the co-partners without a question. So the dominance of karta may lead to the failure of business organization, because when he or she does not take into account about the co-partners, it also becomes a difficulty. So at the points we have discussed in merits and demerits, in merits the control is going to be effective, but it has become a demerit in dominance of karta. In merit we have discussed about the continuity of business existence, because after the karta dies also, the next eldest member can take up the business, and limited liability of members is a merit, but unlimited liability of karta becomes a demerit. Loyalty and cooperation is really good here because it's a family business, but whereas managerial skills are very limited, the demerit is limited managerial skill, because the karta is the only person who is going to take up all the decisions of this particular business organization. So children, in this video session we have discussed about the second form of business organization, joint Hindu family business. We have discussed the features, the acts, limitations and merits. I want you to deeply look into Dayabhaga Act and Mitakshara Act. That is governed in Hindu Succession Act 1956 and Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. Thank you, and may all have a great day today.